Hello, YouTube. I'm Vince White. I've failed to make this video 3 times because we are answering a subtle question, a question that was asked on avo.com, A as in apple, V as in victory, V as in victory, O as in orange.com. And the person asking it has a good, strong understanding of some of the distinctions that crop up in this field. So I thought it was a really key question to answer. But the answer is going to be a lot of shades of gray, not 50 shades of gray, just shades of distinction, right? And it's going to be it's going to feel like a decision tree a little bit. Did this happen? No. Did that happen? Okay, if so, then this, right? We're going to do a little bit of that. So this question was asked in Erie, Pennsylvania on July 26th of 2022. And it reads like so. What is it called when someone touches you without permission, but it was not in a sexual way? It was just really uncomfortable, unwanted touching. Okay. So first off, let me say this. All physical touch should require consent. It should. If you're at a wrestling competition, there's a component of consent. There's like a moment when you start the match where people are like, okay, we're going to do this. We consent to this wrestling match, right? Same for jiu-jitsu, right? When you go to a massage parlor, there's a component of consent. They're like, okay, so you've chosen to do this. You lay down on the table. You would like this massage. Where that falls apart is often, well, first off, in situations of sexual harassment, sexual assault, and rape, you have non-consensual touching. But that's an extreme. Here we're talking about something non-sexual. And I'm going to give an example because I've dealt with this in my own life. There's a lot of people, coworkers, friends of friends, who are just going to tell you, listen, I'm a hugger. You may in fact be a hugger. You're free to be what you want to be. But don't hug me. I don't want you touching me. I don't know where you've been. I'm good. There's monkeypox out there. I don't want this. Get away from me, right? And I think it's a reasonable thing for a human to say. Like, yeah, I don't want your physical form, your corporeal body. I don't want it touching me. That is your right. That is your right. And if you put someone on notice like that, I would say at that point, if they then touch you anyways, we've ventured into something that could be considered sexual harassment. Now, I also want to note, there's a lot of creeps in the world who engage in what they pantomime, what they play at being non-sexualized touching. But in their minds, it is sexualized. They're trying to get the human contact. They're trying to touch the human form of someone else. And they're getting a thrill, even though the touch is perhaps non-sexual or perhaps meant to appear non-sexual. So there's that component, right? You know, what's somebody really up to? Why do they actually want to touch you? That's another key question here. So we have notice. If you put them on notice, hey, don't touch me. Okay, well, that puts us in the realm, if they're touching you anyways, of sexual harassment. If someone's just pretending something is non-sexual, I think that puts us in the realm of sexual harassment. And the last thing I'll raise, and this is not an exhaustive list, this is my thoughts on this topic, but the last thing I'll raise is, how often is this happening? Right? If let's just assume you're going into work every day. You have a coworker, I've had this, who runs up to you and, wants to touch you. We'll call it non-sexual. Hand on your shoulder. That's a lot. It's physical contact that you don't want every single day. Does that in and of itself make something sexual harassment? No. Absent the other two components, putting someone on notice saying, hey, I really don't want you touching me. They keep touching you, sexual harassment. And the amplitude, the constant nature, the repetition of that, I think makes that a more viable, stronger potential claim. I think the creepiness, if there's some component of maybe, you know, they're touching you, but maybe they're touching you because they get a thrill out of touching you, but they're not going to admit that, that would push it into sexual harassment. The last thing I'll say is sometimes a non-sexual touching without consent can be assault in certain jurisdictions. So let's talk about that. Let's go back to the shoulder toucher, right? So people come up to you, they touch your shoulder, and they squeeze, right? I'm strong, I'm squeezing your shoulder. That could be a little bit aggressive. That could be a form of intimidation. That could be threatening to certain human beings. So where you have a non-consensual touching that is aggressive in nature, do I think that could qualify as assault in certain jurisdictions? And I'm not saying sexual assault. I'm just saying assault. Hey, don't touch me. Touch. And then aggressive touch, like squeezing or like something, or, you know. Yeah, I think that could be assault. I do. Absolutely do. I think in New York, with, you know, a lot of fine tuning and, you know, looking very carefully at the elements there, I think you could perhaps make an argument that that would be assault in New York. So this is my thought. I know I didn't give you too many useful labels. Historically, when I run up against this, I call it non-consensual touch. And I think that's your question is actually just, what do you call it? You didn't ask for all my other nonsense that I provided. I just thought it was useful. You just want to know, what do you call it? And I call it non-consensual touch. And I don't care for it. I don't want it for you. I don't want it for me. I don't want it for anybody. If you don't want to be touched, I don't want you to be touched. The end. That is my thought on this topic. And I just want to put you on notice. Don't touch me. I hate it. I hate it. I don't want it. Don't even come within like 3 feet of me. If this video was helpful, and I hope it was, if it was, consider liking and subscribing. It does help me to help more people just like you. And I will see you tomorrow.